Good morning, fellow zombies. How are we doing this morning? It's 7:55 in the morning, West Coast time. It is April the 8th, 2025 of Tuesday. Your zombie, Weaver John C. of Roseman, California. Yeah, okay, enough of that one. Okay. Uh, I probably would have merged this in with the diary of the griever named John Weaver, which is me. From some of those who are actually following because of their own situations they have coming over and triggers, yeah. It's been plenty of triggers. But not on the national stage where I'm looking at where it's going to be making me cry like crazy. No. I'm seeing too much of their emotional ranges these days about how people are looking at each other, whether or not if this is all right, if this is not all right, and we're dealing with cultists, and we're dealing with extremism, and we're dealing with anger issues, and this is on both sides of the issue. But are they good people? I don't know. Because there was a one particular presidential term that when Nazis were marching in North Carolina, I think it was Charleston, and trying to say a lot of ugly, vile things. And the only thing I heard from the president at that time, I can't call him president, I'd call him gasbag at the time. Good people on both sides, especially with the haters. Well, I'm still seeing it now. But, but, I'd also seen videos popping up on YouTube even more often about the reactions to people having with MAGA. You're wearing anything regarding MAGA, make America great again. I call them maggots because they're reproduced like maggots with their ideologies and stuff. And in that situation there, that was crazy, wasn't it? Shout out to the Artist of Recovery / their LPs. Shout out to the Bo and Bell out there. To a certain reverend out there in Canada. And to every other kind of contact I've got out there. Yeah. Yeah, I'm having it. I'm having good days and other bad days and trying to settle myself out. Had a missed class yesterday because of my own mental health day I took. I got so damn overwhelmed with everybody else's vitriol that I had to stay off of it. I couldn't even deal with the reverend, not with the reverend, but my own professors. Uh, Cantor. But I still have to go back to the school work to work on that one. And yeah, I heard about Musk and Trump separating. I guess maybe the relationship was breaking up, especially when Trump is losing his mind. But not once in public did I ever hear Elon Musk telling Trump he needs to get some mental health. Or vice versa for that matter. Theirs was a relationship that they couldn't dare say it to each other. They could not. Someone was asking in a short video, were men different about 80 years, actually about over 30 years ago, maybe back in the 80s and 90s? Yeah, but then they were just mutating. The Conservative Party was being split apart. So some people a little bit more extreme, and they were trying to take over Congress during those days. But as for the thinking in the public, no, I was among the public, working at different jobs, listening to talk left and right, listening to politics on Sunday mornings. If I was actually working, fine. But if I wasn't working that day, then I wasn't listening to them. At least not that much of trying to see if there was any follows. In the 80s, we had 80 through 88, we had the Bush. No, we had Reagan. And then we had the vice president turning into the president, which was Bush Sr. And after that, we actually had Clinton coming up over 8 years over that one. and tried to get the country back in order with his own economic policies. And yeah, there's more. I'm not opening up the box on that one. I'm going back some memories of what I've gone through and what I've been through and what I remembered. See, I didn't hear the political gossip concerning about if this guy was going to be so great you had to follow his ass. No, an answer to artist recovery. No, Gerald. But they'll be talking about it in the in the political arena about what they wanted for fiscal responsibility. That much I heard. But as for us joining into cults, then we run into David Koresh and his own religious fanaticism. And if that's not bad enough, Scientology crap again. But back then we didn't have the instant communications like we have now, right? Actually, we did. Computer bulletin boards, AOL, Netscape, and a few others. So they had their own individual chat rooms that I wasn't privy about conversations. They even had the dark web standing up. Not like we have today. But if they were in there, I wasn't paying attention to it because I wasn't access to it. I didn't really care about it during those days. It was all hunting for the job because we needed money to keep running the household. And compared to now, we're wondering if we have any money left. For those who invested, well, we all know the stock markets were a crapshoot anyway. On good days, you're making it, and on the bad days, there goes the 401. One rumor can either heighten things up or crash your ass. And they did. They have. Still are. Do I have any sympathies and feelings and regrets concerning about what the Muscovites and the troglodytes and the Trumplicans are saying? Well, you guys know what you're getting yourselves into. You claimed that you weren't, but you did. You drank the Kool-Aid, you got brainwashed. You listened for someone else who's going to be bringing you into the promised land. No one was bringing anybody else to the promised land. You had to work your ass off. The thing is concerning about being an American is you had to work your ass off. If you had the opportunity, you'd try to prove yourself. The old ways that we were taught growing up as kids were supposed to be: you work your ass off, you work hard, you demonstrate your worth, you get recognized, you get promoted, you get more money. Hopefully, the more money meant you get more stuff coming into the household, maybe more food, more clothing, more junk, electrical, maybe a new vehicle. The stuff that we were taught and looked at and, you know, well, we got familiar with. Before Social Security kicked in, if you were stuffing money in a mattress, that was your savings right there. If you were still able to work, they'd work your ass off until they came up with rules and regulations for how not to kill you on the job, or even how to kill your kids on the job. How about that one? Had kids working their asses off left and right. But we also had to have safety for those kids, so yeah, we had to exclude certain ages out. It's called learning history. It's called learning and listening to what your parents were telling you, what your grandparents were telling you. Remembering this stuff, then try to referencing, and then when you're verified it, man, you could just give the information out and just say, okay, well, this is what I remembered. But then as kids, we had a certain perspective. We heard, we absorbed, we didn't understood, but we absorbed. We sucked it into our skins. Sometimes involuntarily. But that's what we grew up with. We grew up with the stories that when you're in America, You work hard, you play hard, you get rewarded for it. These days, I don't know anymore. I don't know anymore. Things are changing so damn badly. The thing is, when you get older and older, you're set into a condition, you're set into a context, you're set into a perspective. You can remember when to a point, but after that, sometimes for me, it gets harder and harder because I'm becoming more and more of those oldies, but moldies out there who liked back then because to me the concept was simply because there was a childlike mannerism. I look at the adultism at this point and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing to ourselves? And I'm seeing the 20s and 30s year olds still questioning the elderly. Why is this happening here? We need to change it. Well, we don't want it changed. We like it the way it is. We like it where it's comfortable. We're situated in our own damn box. For some of us who actually are adventurous, yes, we can try going outside the box and explore it, while the rest of us are actually being conservative in a way. So maybe the liberalism that we wanted to push is because the youth and the energy that we actually had, the optimism, the faith, the Kool-Aid that we drank back then. The Kool-Aid that we drank back then. Of course, you had to mix in your own sugar. And whether or not if you're going to get the right sugar or not. Brown sugar doesn't work. Powdered sugar doesn't work. It had to be granular in the Kool-Aid, so you can have it nice and sweet. Brown sugar wasn't bad when it came down for cream of wheat or even raisins. Wasn't bad. Foods I remember. Activities I would remember. But not this cultism, not this fetish. Unless you're into some kind of religious fanaticism. Of course, when you're reading it in the books, looking at the context from long ago, and you're hearing the old people back then, the old farts, the older generations, whatever kind of title they would use, they call them the greatest generation. Yeah, what about the generation prior to that then? Or the generation prior to that and generations prior to that? Were they ever great back then as well? Prior to World War I, were they actually great? Or were they just working stiffs and working robots of the Industrial Revolution? Of the factories, choking out with smoke and stuff. Of people getting injured on the job because they weren't careful or else there was no safety involved. Were you going to get any retirement? Not really. If you're still able to work at a job, then you try. But if you couldn't, well, then you're not useful to anybody. Your limbs are not there. But did they call themselves the greatest generations back then? We didn't hear anything about that. The only thing I kept hearing about was the greatest generation, and that was because they fought World War One or maybe World War Two, and that's about it. After that, forget it. So if there was any greatest generations prior to that, we weren't hearing it. It wasn't being passed around from generation. It wasn't being passed around from family members or anybody else for that. These days we call it that because we need to have something to label ourselves. Yeah, I really gotta get my. I got such white skin. Flaked off. Epidermis still needs to be washed off. Scraped off, actually. Get older, that's when I'm dealing with scraped off skin. Showing the age, showing how my own context perspective is changing and mutating one way or another. And yet, I'm trying to see hope. I'm trying to see if there's anything useful for me to be playing in. The things we yearn for is going back as a kid. Sometimes being a kid was also a pain in the ass because of the times and the places we had to deal with. And it wasn't so much of a golden age. It wasn't a great generation. It was generations of survival. people with their ideologies and fanaticisms. They want you to be brainwashed into something else, and either you did it or you didn't. And if you didn't do it, what was wrong with you? You weren't getting with the game. The game was changing on us left and right. We didn't know what the rules and regulations, because even the adults would change the damn thing on us. Change context. So what did we kids know about things like that? We didn't have anything. We had to follow what the adults were telling us, because they are supposed to know everything, right? Jeez, give me a break. Kids start smarting off, start trying to show them that they can think and figure things out fast for themselves. Either we called them child prodigies or we called them troublemakers. She's up. She must be obeyed. Oh, yeah, she's trying to get up. She's trying to get up. And while she's trying to do her business on the pads, I know that there are schools out there in different states have been dealing with changes, rules, regulations going against the Constitution of having religion in schools. Moment of prayer, 10 Commandments. In some states that they're so damn conservative, they're willing to break the Constitution. And the problem is, when we have government systems and judicial systems saying it's all right, except the Constitution says it isn't. We also have problems like that growing up, because we had seen firsthand of either religious freedom or no religious freedom, or separation of church and state is questioned on a constant basis. I'm just trying to see how my dog's going to try navigating her way out of a problem. I just want her to see if she can. Hang on a second. We live in a little bit more of a complicated, convoluted lifestyle, attitudes, environment. We want our ego more in charge instead of anything else. We keep saying God's in charge, but no, we're our own mental status and stability is doing the same damn thing to people left and right. Still keeping an eye on my dog. Well, if the stock market is going to do great today, then maybe they're stabilizing and avoiding the United States as much as possible, because the old trash bag in the office still wants his tariffs. He thinks it's a pathway for more money coming into his pocket. I was trying to explain to someone in our group about the split, about the bromance being separated. Starts when you get rich and fat from government contracts. Government's being paid by U.S. taxpayers, assholes. Yeah, every time there's a government contract, it's paid by U.S. taxpayers and from other sources coming in. So basically, I would be an unofficial shareholder in all of this crap that Muscovite is doing. The stocks are holding, or trying to hold, or trying to do their best. Are we going to be crashing and burning in it? I hope not. If we gain traction, fine. It means other people are trying to get stabilization going. People are sick and tired of losing. We were promised in one particular presidential term there's going to be so much winning, and we didn't. And now we get this one with chaos, confusion, and tariffs left and right. That we're wondering whether or not we actually made a good choice or not. Apparently the maggots are waking up. It's taking them slowly but surely to realize what they're in for right now. And what they are in for is a rude awakening. Hey, it's not my fault. I didn't drink the Kool-Aid. I didn't deal with that kind of flavor. I dealt with someone else's flavor. I dealt with Gatorade Orange and I dealt with Tang Orange. Deal with that one. Let's just hope that. Let's just hope for hope. The only thing I can say for it this morning.